Hello, and welcome back to Baby Elias's stories. We now return to Jingo by Terry Pratchett, Part 10. The sun rose in a cloudless sky. A watcher, if such had been out here, would have noticed a slight difference in the way the swells were moving on this tiny patch of sea. They might even have wondered about the piece of bent piping, which turned with a faint squeaky noise. Had they been able to place an ear to it, they would have heard the following. Idea while I was dozing off. Piece of pipe, 2 angled mirrors, the solution to all our steering and air problems. Fascinating. A seeing things pipe you can breathe down. My goodness, how did you know it was called that, my lord? A lucky guess.
Here, someone's redesigned my pedalling seat. It's comfortable.
Ah, yes, Corporal. I took some measurements while you were asleep and rebuilt it for a better anatomical configure.
You took my measurements. You took measurements.
Oh, yes, I...
What? Of my saddlery regions?
Oh, please don't be concerned. Anatomy is something of a passion with me.
It is. Is it? Is it? Well, you can stop being passionate about mine for a start.
Here, I can see an island of some sort. The pipe squeaked around. Ah, Lesp, and I see people. To your pedals, gentlemen. Let us explore the ocean's bottom.
I expect we shall,
With him steering.
Shut up, Nobby.
The pipe slid down into the waves. Joot! There was a little flurry of bubbles and a damp argument about whose job it should have been to put the cork in. And then the patch of sea that had been empty was somehow a little bit emptier still. There weren't any fish. At a time like this, Solid Jackson would have even been prepared to eat curious squid. But the sea was empty, and it smelled wrong. It fizzed gently. Solid could see little bubbles breaking on the surface, which burst with a smell of sulfur and rotten eggs. He guessed that the rise of the land must have stirred up a lot of mud. It was bad enough at the bottom of a pond, all those frogs and bugs and things, and this was the sea. He tried hard to reverse that train of thought, but it kept on rising from the depths like a... Why were there no fish? Oh, there'd been the storm last night, but generally you got better fishing in these parts after a storm because it stirred up. The raft rocked. He was beginning to think it might be a good idea to go home, but that'd mean leaving the land to the Klatchians, and that'd happen over his dead body. The treacherous internal voice said, "Funnily enough, they never found Mr. Hong's body. Not most of the important bits, anyway. I think
I think we'll be getting back now,
he said to his son. Oh, Dad, said Les, another dinner of limpets and seaweed.
Nothing wrong with seaweed, said Jackson. It's full of nourishing seaweed. It's got iron in it. Good for you, iron.
Why don't we boil an anchor then?
None of your lips, son.
The Klatchians have got bread, said Les. They brought flour with them, and they've got firewood. This was a sore point with Jackson. Efforts to make seaweed combust had not been successful.
Yeah, but you wouldn't like their bread, said Jackson. It's all flat and got no proper crust.
A breeze blew the scent of baking over the water. It carried a hint of spices.
They're baking bread on our property.
Well, they say it's there. Jackson grabbed the piece of broken plank he used as an oar and began to scull furiously towards the shore. The fact that this only made the raft go round in circles added to his fury.
They bloody move in right next to us and all we get is the stink of foreign food.
Why's your mouth watering, Dad?
And how come they've got wood, may I ask?
I think the current takes the driftwood to their side of the island, Dad.
See? They're stealing our driftwood. Our damn driftwood. Ha! Well, we'll...
But I thought we agreed that the bit over there was theirs, Dad. And Jackson had finally remembered how to propel a raft with one oar.
That wasn't an agreement, he said, creating foam as the oar thrashed back and forth. That was just an arrangement. It's not as if they created the driftwood. It just turned up. An accident of geography. It is a natural resource, right? It don't belong to anyone.
The raft hit something which made a metallic sound. Clang! But they were still 100 yards from the rocks. Something else, long and bent at the end, rose up with a creaking noise. It twisted around until it pointed at Jackson. Excuse me, it said in a tiny yet polite voice, but this is Leshp, isn't it? Jackson made a sound in his throat. Only, the thing went on, the water's a little cloudy, and I thought we might have been going the wrong way for the last 20 minutes.
Leshp!
Squeaked Jackson in an unnaturally high-pitched voice. Ah, good. Thank you so much. Good day to you. The appendage sank slowly into the sea again. The last sounds from it erupting on the surface in a cloud of bubbles were, "Don't forget to put the cork in. You forgot to put the cork." Bubbles stopped. After a while, Les said, "Dad, what was—"
"It wasn't anything," snapped his father. "That sort of thing doesn't happen."
The raft shot forward. You could have water skied it. You could have water skied behind it. Another important thing about the boat, thought Sergeant Cullen gloomily, as they slipped back into a blue twilight, was that you couldn't bail out the bilges. It was the bilges. He was pedaling with his feet in water, and he was suffering simultaneously from claustrophobia and agoraphobia. He was afraid of everything in here and everything out there at the same time. Plus, there were unpleasantnesses out there moving past as the boat drifted down the wall of rock. Feelers waved. There were claws. Things scuttled into the waving weeds. Giant clams watched Sergeant Cullen with their lips. The boat creaked. "Sarge," said Nobby, as they looked out at the wonders of the deep.
"Yes, Nobby."
"You know they say every tiny part of your body is replaced every 7 years?"
"A well-known fact,"
said Sergeant Cullen. "Right. So, I've got a tattoo on my arm, right? Had it done 8 years ago. So how come it's still there?" Giant seaweeds winnowed the gloom.
"Interesting point,"
quavered Cullen. Okay. New tiny bits of skin floated in. But that means it ought to be all new and pink by now." A fish with a nose like a saw swam past. In the middle of all his other fears, Sergeant Cullen tried to think fast.
"What happens," he said,
"is that all the blue skin bits are replaced by other blue skin bits off of other people's tattoos. So, I've got other people's tattoos now?"
Yes."
"Amazing, 'cause it still looks like mine. It's got the crossed daggers and wum."
"Wum?"
It was gonna be mum, but I passed out and Needle Ned didn't notice I was upside down.
"I should have thought he'd noticed that."
He was pissed too. "Come on, Sarge. You know it's not a proper tattoo unless no one can remember how it got there." Leonard and the patrician were staring out at the submarine landscape.
"What are they looking for?"
said Cullen. "Leonard keeps talking about hieroglyphs," said Nobby. "What are they, Sarge?" Cullen hesitated, but not for long.
"A type of mollusk, Corporal."
"Cool. You know everything, Sarge," said Nobby admiringly. "That's what hieroglyphs are, is it? So, if we go any deeper, there'll be lower glyphs." There was something slightly off-putting about Nobby's grin. Sergeant Cullen decided to go for broke.
"Don't be daft, Nobby. Lower glyphs if you go lower. Oh, dearie me."
"Sorry, Sarge.
Everyone knows you don't get lower glyphs in these waters."
A couple of curious squid peered at them, curiously. Jenkins's ship was a floating wreck. Several sails were in tatters. Rigging and other string that Vimes refused to learn the nautical names for covered the deck and trailed in the water. Such sail as remained was moving them along in the brisk breeze. Atop the mast, the lookout cupped his hands around his mouth and leaned down. "Land ahoy!"
"Even I can see that," said Vimes. "Why does he have to shout?"
"It's lucky," said Jenkins. He squinted into the haze. "But your friend ain't heading for Gebra. Wonder where he's going." Vimes stared at the pale yellow mass on the horizon and then up at Carrot. "We'll get her back, don't worry," he said. "I wasn't actually worrying, sir, although I am very concerned," said Carrot.
Right.
Vimes waved his arms helplessly.
Everyone fit and well? The men in good heart, are they? It would help morale no end if you were to say a few words, sir.
The monstrous regiment of watchmen had lined up on the deck, blinking in the sunshine. Oh dear. Round up the usual suspects. One dwarf, one human who was brought up as a dwarf and thinks like a manual of etiquette. One zombie, one troll, me, and, oh no, one religious fanatic. Constable Visit saluted.
Permission to speak, sir.
Go ahead, mumbled Vimes. I'm pleased to tell you, sir, that our mission is clearly divinely approved of, sir. I refer to the rain of sardines, which sustained us in our extremity, sir. We were a little hungry. I wouldn't say we were in extremity. With respect, sir, said Constable Visit firmly. The pattern is firmly established, sir. Yes, indeed. The Sycoolites, when being pursued in the wilderness by the forces of Orflerian Mytolites, sir, was sustained by a rain of celestial biscuits, sir. Chocolate ones, sir. Perfectly normal phenomenon, muttered Constable Shoe. Probably swept up by the wind passing a baker's shop. Visit glared at him and went on. And the Murmurians, when driven into the mountains by the tribes of Miskmeek, would not have survived but for a magical rain of elephants, sir. Elephants? Well, one elephant, sir, Visit conceded, but it splashed. Perfectly normal phenomenon, said Constable Shoe. Probably an elephant was picked up by a freak, and when they were thirsty in the desert, sir, the 4 tribes of Cunley were scoured by a sudden and supernatural rain of rain, sir. A rain of rain, said Vimes, almost mesmerized by Visit's absolute conviction. Perfectly normal phenomenon, sneered Regshoe. Probably water was evaporated from the ocean, was blown through the sky, condensed around nuclei when it ran into cold air, and precipitated. He stopped and continued irritably. Anyway, I don't believe it. So, which particular deity is on our case? Said Vimes hopefully. I shall definitely inform you as soon as I have ascertained this, sir. Very good, Constable. Vimes took a step back. I don't pretend this is going to be easy, men, he said. But our mission is to catch up with Angua and this bastard Ahmed and shake the truth out of him. Unfortunately, this means we will be following him through his own country, with which we are at war. This is bound to put a few barriers in our way. But we should not let the prospect of being tortured to death dismay us, eh? Fortune favours the brave, sir, said Carrot cheerfully. Good. Good. Pleased to hear it, Captain. What is her position vis-a-vis heavily armed, well-prepared and excessively manned armies? Oh, no one's ever heard of fortune favouring them, sir. According to General Tacticus, it's because they favour themselves, said Vimes. He opened the battered book. Bits of paper and string indicated his many bookmarks.
In fact, men, the general has this to say about ensuring against defeat when outnumbered, outweaponed, and outpositioned. It is, he turned the page, don't have a battle. Sounds like a clever man, said Jenkins. He pointed to the yellow horizon. See all that stuff in the air, he said. What do you think that is? Mist, said Vimes. Ha! Yes, Klatchian mist. It's a sandstorm. The sand blows about all the time. Vicious stuff. If you want to sharpen your sword, just hold it up in the air. Oh. And it's just as well, because otherwise you'd see Mount Gebra. And below it is what they call the Fist of Gebra. It's a town, but there's a bloody great fort. Walls 30 feet thick. It's like a big city all by itself. It's got room inside it for thousands of armed men. War elephants, battle camels, everything. And if you saw that, you'd want me to turn round right now. What's your famous general going to say about it, eh? I think I saw something, said Vimes. He flicked to another page. Ah, yes. He says, after the first battle at Stolat, I formulated a policy which has stood me in good stead in other battles. It is this. If the enemy has an impregnable stronghold, see he stays there. That's a lot of help, said Jenkins. Vimes slipped the book into his pocket. So, Constable Visit, there's a god on our side, is there? Certainly, sir, but probably also a god on their side as well. Very likely, sir. There's a god on every side. Let's hope they balance out then. The Klatchian ship's boat hit the water with the gentlest of splashes. This was because 71-hour Ahmed was standing by the winches with his sword at the ready, which had the effect of making the men lowering the boat take some trouble over their task. When we are away, you may take the ship into Gebra, he said to the captain. The captain trembled. What shall I tell them, Wali? Tell them the truth. Eventually. The commander of the garrison is a man of no breeding and will torture you a little bit. Save up the truth until you need it. That will make him happy. It will help you to say that I forced you. Oh, I will tell that lie, the captain added quickly. Ahmed nodded, slid down the rope into the boat and set it adrift. The crew watched him row through the surf. It wasn't a nice beach. It was a wrecking coast. Rib cages of broken ships crumbled into the sand. Bones and driftwood and bleached white seaweed mounded along the high tide line. And beyond, the dunes of the real desert rose. Even down here, sand stung the eyes and gritted the teeth. There's sudden death on that beach, said the first mate, looking over the rail and trying to blink his eyes clear. Yes, said the captain. He's just got out of the boat. The figure on the beach pulled the other, recumbent figure out of the boat and dragged him out of reach of the waves. The mate raised his bow. I could kill him from here, master. Just say the word. How are you sure? Because you'd better be really sure. First, if you miss him, you're dead. And second, if you hit him, you're still dead. Look up there. On the high, distant dunes, dark against the sand-filled sky, there were mounted figures. The mate dropped his bow. How did they know we were here? Oh, they watched the sea, said the captain. Dregs like a good shipwreck as much as anyone else. More, in fact. A lot more. As they turned away from the rail, something leapt from the hull and entered the water with barely a splash. Detritus tried to lurk in the shade, but there was not a lot of it about. The heat came off the high desert ahead of them like a blowtorch. I'm gonna get thick, he muttered. There was a shout from the lookout. He says someone's climbing the dunes, said Carrot. Carrying someone else, he says. Female. Look, sir, I know Angua. She's not the useless type. She doesn't stand there and scream helplessly. She makes other people do that. Well, if you're sure, Vimes turned to Jenkins. Don't bother to chase the ship, Captain. Just keep heading for the shore. I don't like that, mister. For one thing, that's a damn difficult shore. The wind's always against you, and there's some very nasty currents. Many an incautious sailorman has left his bones to bleach on those sands. No, we'll stand out a little way, and you can lower the... Well, if we had a boat anymore, you could lower it. And we'll drop the anchor. Oh no, tell a lie. It turned out to be too heavy, didn't it? You just keep straight on, said Vimes. We'll all be killed. Think of it as the lesser of two evils. What's the other one? Vimes drew his sword. Shing! Me. The boat squeaked through the mysterious depths of the ocean. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Leonard spent a lot of time looking out of the tiny windows, particularly interested in pieces of seaweed which, to Sergeant Cullen, looked like pieces of seaweed. Do you note the fine strands of Dropley's etiolated bladder wrack? Said Leonard. That's the brown stuff, a marvellous growth which, of course, you will see as significant. Could we just assume for the moment that I have neglected my seaweed studies in recent years? Said the patrician. Really? Oh, the loss is entirely yours, I assure you. The point is, of course, that the etiolated bladder wrack is never usually found growing about 30 fathoms, and it's only 10 here. Ah, the patrician flicked through a stack of Leonard's drawings. And the hieroglyphs, an alphabet of signs and colours. Colours as a language. What a fascinating idea. An emotional intensifier, said Leonard. But of course, we ourselves use something like it. Red for danger, and so on. I never did succeed in translating it, though. Colours as a language, murmured Lord Veterinary. Sergeant Cullen cleared his throat. I know something about seaweed, sir.
Yes, Sergeant.
Yes, sir. If it's wet, sir, it means it's going to rain.
Well done, Sergeant, said Lord Veterinary, without turning his head. I think it is quite possible that I will never forget you said that. Sergeant Cullen beamed. He had made a contribution. Nobby nudged him. What are we doing down here, Sarge? I mean, what's it all about? Poking around, looking at weird marks on the rocks, going in and out of caves. And the smell. Well,
It's not me,
said Sergeant Cullen. Smells like sulphur. Little bubbles streamed past the window. It stunk up on the surface too, Nobby went on. Nearly finished, gentlemen, said Lord Veterinary, putting the papers aside. One last little venture, and then we can surface. Very well, Leonard. Take us underneath.
Aren't we underneath already, sir?
Said Cullen. Only underneath the sea, Sergeant.
Ah, right.
Cullen gave his due consideration.
Is there anything else to be under, then, sir?
Yes, Sergeant. Now we are going under the land.